27th of Tammuz. It marks the Hilula of a great Tunisian rabbi. His name was Rabbi Shmuel Idan, Zecher Tzaddik V'Chav, one of the great rabbis of his time. He was actually the rabbi of the הכנסת Rachmim in Pardes Katz in Bnei Brak, I believe. He was one of the founders of Yeshivat Kisei Rachamim, I believe in Israel, have various different important roles within regards to that great yeshiva itself. And one that actually came from the island of Jerba, originally in Tunisia, originally would end up in at the end in Eretz Yisrael, respectively. Let's explore a few of the highlights of the famous rabbi's life. Now, he was born, I believe, back in English year 1924 it was. We're talking about nearly 101 years ago here from the time of recording. And obviously in the island of Jerba in Tunisia, which had, let's say, a brilliant Torah community at that point in time. Now, his father was a great rabbi, Rabbi David Idan, who was, I believe, president of the congregation of the Jewish community of Jerba in his day. That's Jerba is, I think, more southern part of Tunisia. And he was author of various different Torah colossal works, including most notably the Maskil David, the David book over there. So he was, so it really came from greatness, let's just say, in himself. Now, he had great rabbis also, who he learned from, including the famous Rabbi Rachmim Chai Chayutah Kohen. He happened to be a great rabbi. I think he passed away in the year 1959. He was Rosh Yeshiva, he was a posek, he was a judge, a head of the Jewish court, and I think a head rabbi of Jerba, respectively, and is considered as one of the great rabbis of the 20th century. His rabbi was, so he really came from great auspices. Another one of his rabbis was Rabbi Shaul Idan, who I think passed away in the year 1969. He himself also was a rabbi, a dayan, an educator, a translator of various different great books, one of the great rabbis of Jerba. Rabbi Kadir Aton was another one of his rabbis. And most of the rabbi we've spoken about extensively on the series. Rabbi Moshe Kalfon HaKohen, a great rabbi who passed away in 1950. He was the chief rabbi of Chara, Kvira, respectively, of Jerba, and was considered one of the great rabbis of Tunisia of his time. He was a master Torah writer within regards to education, within regards to Musa ethics, gave a grandeur sermons, and various different question and answer responser, which you have to point out. So really the great rabbis of Tunisia, you could argue, he was learning under all throughout. Now he would learn various different, he would learn the Torah method with regards to Tunisian community, especially the Derech HaPsak, and various different investigations, let's say, in Halacha, and various different Chidushim, novelties in Torah, he would very much encompass in of itself. Now it must be added, he would actually go to Eretz Yisrael, would travel there, I think towards the end of the 1950s, if I'm not mistaken, around 1956, 1957. I think he would actually return for a short period of time to Tunisia, if I'm not mistaken. I think he'd be working for the Jewish agency, trying to bring Tunisian Jews to Eretz Yisrael, and actually he would do this in secret because I think there was a fear of the Tunisian government at that point in time. And I think come at the year 1959, he became one of the founders of the famous Yeshivat Kisei Rachamim in Tunisia. I think that was very much under assistance and auspice of Rabbi Matzliach Mezuz. And I think later on, especially in 1965, unfortunately, I think his discoveries, let's just say, was discovered, and he'd have to secretly flee from Tunis and return to Eretz Yisrael, to the land of Israel. Now, I think come what 1965, more activities will be progressed with regards to Rabbi Shmuel. He will set up, I believe, the Beit Knesset called the Beit Rachamim in Pardes Katz. I think that's in the Bnei Brak, ultra-Orthodox neighborhood over there. I think in the Rehov, Mivtza Kadesh, if I'm not mistaken, also known, I think, Rav Abu Chatzer, respectively. And very interesting, I think his rabbi over there was Rabbi Rachamim Chai Chayutah Kohen, who was very much a great rabbi. And we've spoken about him also, so maybe that was the synagogue was named after him, because I think Rav Chayutah Kohen had passed away in the year 1959. And he would work as a rabbi of the synagogue until he passed away. Now remember, he passed away, I believe, in the year 1997, to be precise, on the 1st of August of that year, respectively. And he would give over various different grandiose sermons on, especially on Musa topics, ethics, various different Shurei Torah, and very much, I think his position will be taken by Rabbi David Idan, who would take over from him. He currently is a Rosh Kollel, I believe, a Rosh of Beit HaOra, and a head of Jewish court of Yeshivat Kisei Rachamim, respectively. His son is Rabbi David Idan. And you see that the mantelpiece and the greatness would actually carry on in generations to come. Now, he was one of the initiators and founders of a monthly journal, I believe, called Or Torah, respectively, which is a great Torah monthly. I think it's actually published, associated to Yeshivat Kisei Rachmim, with assistance of the Organization of Java and Southern Tunisian immigrants, if I'm not mistaken. Now, obviously, there was vast immigration of various different great rabbis and families of the great rabbis that would actually move from Tunisia to, let's just say, to Eretz Yisrael, especially in the year 1971. So Rabbi Shmuel would establish, I believe, Yeshivat Kisei Rachamim in Israel. And over there, I believe he would put a Ezrat Nashim and also be connected very much with Beit Rachamim, if I'm not mistaken. And I think it's actually located, this yeshiva, on the Uziel Street in Bnei Brak. And he would continue working as a manager of the yeshiva until he passed away. So he grappled with many different important positions, let's just say, and really did a huge amount. Yeshivat Kisei Rachamim was very much part of it. He would head various organizations, let's say, that was connected to the island of Jerba and southern Tunisia in Israel. And within this framework, he would found various different a publishing institute he would found, which was really spread the wings of the horizon, let's just say, and promote the Torah of Tunisia, respectively. I think it was called Keren LeDavid, the publishing house was, and they would go on to print about as many as 250 books, I believe, from the great rabbis of Jerba and from Tunis, respectively, from the encompassments of Tunisia. And I think during his life he would work as a mohel, a rabbi that would perform circumcision, I think, to many thousands of children, respectively. And he would also work as a shochet and a bodek. He would work in kosher slaughter and investigating within regards to the animal, within regards to everything, within regards to the shechita process. They passed away on Chav Zayin Tammuz, I believe in the year 1907. Naturally, we call that Tafshin Nun Zayin. It is. And I think, especially in his Shloshim, the famous former chief rabbi of Israel, Rabbi Ovadia Yosef, Racham Ovadia Yosef, would actually end up visiting and I think saying something. Now it's interesting, his son, I think Rabbi David Idan, is a Rosh Kollel, very great rabbi. Rabbi, I think we've mentioned about in this series, I think currently is, he's Posek, he's Moreh Hora'ah, Rosh Kollel, he's a head of Jewish court of Yeshivat Kisei Rachamim, and various other different prominent roles he would actually have, including the Beit Rachamim, respectively. And that's very, very many importances which you must stress. So more can be added within regards to him. I think there's commemorations within regards to him. It's actually interesting. I think a Torah collection, which is titled, if I'm not mistaken, Lizkiro Shel Rabbi Shmuel Mufia Kol Shel Yom HaAzkara Kovetz Torani V'Ya'an Shmuel. There's a publication called the V'Ya'an Shmuel, which is in his memory. It's reported over, which is a constant one. Let's say, I think, for example, it will appear 1,000 pages, I think, one of them, various responsa and novels from various great men of Israel would feature inside it, including from Rabbi Meir Mezuz and Rabbi Ovadia Yosef. This collection of his book, the Vayishan Shmuel, of his publication, was Memorial Day, will include various collections, let's say, of responsa from great rabbis from previous editions, as well as many dozen of responsa by Abraham, including the Vayan Shmuel, Torat Moshe Emet, and by Kisei Rachamim. Now, I think next to the building of Yeshivat Kisei Rachamim, there's something called the Bet Shmuel, which is also, I believe, named actually after him, which is very interesting. Remember, we visited, I think, Bnei Brak in this series already, but it would be great to visit more in detail. So he actually came from there. Now, a few more highlights within regards to the famous rabbi, which we can point out. As I said before, he passed away in the year 1997. Rabbi Idan did. He came from great auspices, as we said before, from Rabbi David Idan, who was the author of the Maskil David, and various different great rabbis, very much that we have to point out. I think his wife's name was Rabbanit Shalvaya Tzviya, if I'm not mistaken. And make aliyah to the land of Israel, help people actually come. He would found eventually the Beit Rachamim synagogue in the neighborhood. And many people that wanted advice and help would actually come to him for the advice. And it's actually interesting. I think a special committee he would be part of. He was one of the founders of the Bab Svatay Yishmin committee, publication of various books in Tunisia and in Jerba. And he was one of the founders of Or Torah, which we mentioned about before. and he was one of the initiators of the Yeshivat Kisei Rachmim, I believe, in let's just say in Jerusalem, respectively. So he's very much a great rabbi, and really helped within regards to all different spheres within regards to Jewish law. He had like a huge part of it. Let's explore for you the highlights from the great rabbi's book, which we have to point out, including Melamed al Tarbeh Sicha Shlo Yidaber Divrei Chol B'Lomodot Torah. I think it's very much is featured in pages 653, 654. This was printed in Bnei Brak in the year 2005. Another teaching, Melamed Kshtaya Haaretz Tahu Uvahu Zruach Elokim Tiyeh Marchefet. It's another teaching. This Melamed Me'ed Kol Ish Shemitoch Shelo Leshemesh Ba'im Esamech. This is, I think, featured in page number 647 of the book. Another one, Melamed Im Yitalech Noach Im Chavirav Rachamim Az Yeh Ish Tzadik B'Tamim. Another teaching of wisdom by the great rabbi. And another one, Melamed La'alot Et Nishmat Anifta Shabal Yitpalel Shivat Yamim. Importance of praying, especially for the first week after loved one passed away. Another teaching, Melamed Lo Nachum Derech Eret Shlo Yivlashu Le'ezeh Beit Bait Lo Afcho Beit HaKnesset. Just another teaching wisdom. I think that's actually from page 646 of the book. Now, friends, we are a community here. We're learning about the great rabbis of yesteryear. If you descend from any of the great Chachamim we're speaking about, please let me know. Send me an email over here. We are nearing a staggering 7,000 subscribers, which is something I don't think we would have expected initially. We don't just record videos of great rabbis of yesteryear. We do Daf Yomi, daily tidbit on every single day, which I feel is very important. We speak with another rabbinic personality, comes in to give some great wisdom to help Am Yisrael through various different teachings and importances itself. We do a lot of very short trips around various different vicinities also all over Israel. So please, friends, subscribe to the channel. We're a community. Wishing you blessings here from Israel. Thank you very much everyone for watching, and have a great day. Thank you. I really appreciate all the great feedback, and may you